It seems to me that during the last century, or let's say over living memory, many people assumed that the role of public religion had come to an end. People are embracing religious and cultural identity as a reaction to what they see as a relentless homogenization. That people are demanding a recognition of diversity as a cornerstone of identity, of common citizenship, and indeed of the European Union. And if the phrase, the slogan, unity in diversity means anything, it means a recognition of and a respect for different faiths and different beliefs. We have in the European Union nearly 500 million people. We share different languages, different cultures, different religious convictions. We are united nonetheless by certain core values, not least of which are the values of toleration and of respect for others. And it is those values which allow our union to function harmoniously, effectively, and above all, with respect for its citizens.
And there is a common platform between Judaism and Christianism, which both have translated the Greek heritage into the European culture, the modern European culture. And already at that time, in the 30s, Rosselli's brothers insisted on the value, fundamental value of laicism, of secularism, but not as something which is opposed to faith and religion, but something which is based on a cult of existence of human beings, dignity of life. And the concept of existence as something which is the base, the hardcore of our civilization, it is something that sometimes it's lost in our current contemporary Europe, which is a very tired Europe.
1960, when we have the independence of Cyprus, Cyprus is becoming an independent republic. I said to you that during all these historical periods, the Church of Cyprus, because we had no Christian leaders at that time, or Orthodox leaders at that time, the Church of Cyprus, political leaders, the Church of Cyprus played an important role for keeping the cultural, historical, religious values of the people of Cyprus. And I said, if the politicians managed to unite the Europe, why not the religious leaders are not working for the unity of the Christianity, but of course then creating the framework so that not only Christianity but all religions could collaborate for the well-being of the humanity.
The respect of every single person is, of course, crucial. This can be also linked to a religious dimension, since the human being has been created by God as similar to God. And now, and of course this round table today is the symbol of this new hope, now we are starting to work with a different approach in order to work all together in a common space and a common dimension. Because the European institutions, until 15 years ago, didn't take care at all about religions. And even now, we can say that among its own finalities, goals, religions is not certainly there. There is no competence of European Union about religions. There was the idea to introduce in a constitution, the very first constitutional treaty, draft treaty, which could guarantee the national prerogatives about religions. Actually, that was not eventually introduced in the treaty. But in the Amsterdam Treaty, eventually, there was an annex saying that the European Union does respect the national legislation ruling the issue of churches.
I'd like to see Cyprus as a micrography, as a small sample of what happens to Armenians elsewhere in Europe, and therefore, being better known to my community, I'd like to give you examples of our coexistence in the island of Cyprus. Our community has had its ups and downs, just like the Greeks of Cyprus with the various occupations of the island, and the biggest boost in numbers in our community came, as I said earlier, after the Armenian genocide. A model of the state being on the side of a minority, helping it to survive in a majority of other in a majority of different, okay, not religiously, we don't find ourselves very far away from the Greek Orthodox majority in terms of theology, in terms of culture, but the ability of being able to survive, retain a language, retain an identity, retain institutions that would otherwise have been lost, schools, clubs, various cultural activities. This has made Cyprus, I'd say, pioneer in the minority rights protection.
In Cyprus we have a very unique situation in the sense that the northern part of Cyprus is occupied by Turkey, and that is why minorities like the Armenian minority have suffered extensively and savagely, because their monasteries, many of their churches were in the north, and they have been destroyed, and the Armenian people, and the same as the Greek Orthodox people, have been expelled from the northern part and now live in the south part, and there is no access to their churches and their monasteries, which some of them have been turned into stables and army storage facilities.
But indeed, freedom of religion is a cornerstone for the history of Europe and also for the future of Europe. But of course, there are problems because there is a dialogue, and whenever there is a dialogue, problems arise, and to some extent, this is also positive. So we have to work to create European identity through difference, through variety. I believe that the European model is very attractive for the neighboring countries and for the new members, for both of them, new members and neighboring countries. I hope this is the road of the future. So, is Europe ready to take over this challenge? Is Europe ready to take over this responsibility of trying to reconcile a past contraposition among churches, one side, and also the contraposition between churches and political power from other side? Because sometimes people use the word religion to justify a theocratical vision of society. And the theocratical vision of society is something very dangerous, because it makes the law of the state coinciding with the law of God, and the law of God coinciding with the law of the state. But this is not our Europe, because we don't want a Europe which is fundamentally secularized, but we want a Europe which is secular by allowing all religions to express themselves.